Welcome back to In Search of Tontonteac. Today, we're diving deeper into an ancient mystery. Who were the Tontonteac people? Where did they come from? And where did they go? And how did ancient civilizations in the Americas connect across vast regions? Let's explore a theory that spans migrations, trade networks, and hidden histories. In our Aztec Connection episode, we explored the Tanner Map, which shows two key locations believed to represent the Aztecs' first and second homes. Olmec means rubber people in Nahuatl, the Aztec language. And we already made a connection between the Ancestral Pueblans by the finding of rubber balls and ball courts within their society. The Aztec are said to have originated from a place with a lake and 7 caves or homes, known as Aztlan. Before their migration, I believe the Aztec were already forging trade routes with various tribes, not only throughout the American Southwest, but also deep into Mexico. They were in contact with the Maya or potentially even the Olmec from an early stage. I propose that as early as 500 BC, the Aztec were moving southward from their homeland near the Great Salt Lake, establishing critical trade routes and building relationships with various tribes across the American Southwest and into Mexico. These routes connected places like Axa, modern-day Las Vegas, Chuchu, St. George, Utah, and Tontonteac, Lake Mead, creating a network of influence that would set the foundation for their later migrations. As we've discovered, various native groups were living together and separating over time. This means the Aztec who arrived in Axa were different from the Aztec who settled in places like Chaco Canyon. Why were they different? Because they were living alongside other tribes. For instance, the people in Axa are said to have had ties to the Anasazi, basket makers, and the Southern Paiutes, while those in the Lake Mead area were influenced by the Anasazi, Southern Paiutes, and Chemehuevi. As the larger Aztec group moved deeper into Arizona and New Mexico, I believe they were not only acquiring new tribes, but also developing different cultural practices. This is why traditional researchers suggest that the Ancestral Pueblan groups were distinct, but in reality, these were Aztec people integrating new tribes, slightly altering their pottery, agriculture, and construction methods. On the Tanner Map, we see that Casa Grande is marked as the second home of the Aztec. Most scholars place Casa Grande's construction around 1100–1300 AD. During this time, the American Southwest faced two major cataclysms. The first was a great drought between 1270 and 1300 AD, which I believe drove many Aztec people out of the region around 1300 AD. This forced them south into the northern Mexican state of Chihuahua, where they developed Casa Grande, or Pueblo Mágico. The Aztec continued south to Lake Texcoco, where they saw the sign of an eagle eating a snake, an omen that guided them to build Tenochtitlan. Over centuries of trade, the Aztec and Maya forged strong connections. Yet, by the time the Aztec moved into southern Mexico, their relationship with the Maya had shifted. Once trade allies, they became fierce rivals, with the Aztec asserting dominance over territories and resources they once shared. Hernán Cortés landed in the Yucatan Peninsula in 1519. By this time, the Aztec had already constructed impressive cities, vast irrigation systems, and floating islands. It seems more likely that they had taken control of these cities as early as 1325. Was Tenochtitlan a Maya city, or, as we discussed in the Rabbit Hole episode, could it have been built by the Egyptians? Or was it the Olmecs? Could the ancient Egyptians and the Olmecs have been one civilization spanning the Atlantic? Did Christopher Columbus venture into Africa, gaining knowledge from the ancient Egyptians, which later sparked exploration across the Atlantic into the Americas? I believe that both the Aztec and the Maya, based on their own mythology, were the inheritors of these ancient temple complexes. These temples, I believe, are much older than what we've been led to believe. When Cortés took Tenochtitlan, he learned of kingdoms to the north. The Aztecs spoke of cities they had lived in before moving to Tenochtitlan, which prompted Friar Marcos de Niza to journey north into the American Southwest. This also explains why he made a direct path towards Cibola, the seven cities of gold. His description of these cities set the stage for Coronado's journey into the southwest United States. It's said that the second major cataclysm in the Southwest occurred around 1450 AD, marked by unprecedented rainfall. This could align with theories proposed in our Caves of Cibola episodes, where the Gila and Colorado rivers were much larger and possibly led to the development of a massive water system in the Phoenix region, along with the creation of the Red Sea, which, as explorers noted, could have separated California from the mainland, or more likely, led them to believe California was an island. When Coronado and his men entered the American Southwest, were they simply continuing the legacy of the Aztec? Or were they inheritors of the ancient sites they found? But what if the Aztec weren't the original builders of these sites? What if they were, like the Maya, inheritors of these sacred locations? It was speculated by many of the early authors that Quivira was in trade with Cathay or China. Also, John Ogilby specifically noted that the people of Quivira was like the Tartars with nomadic tendencies. Interestingly, there are many petroglyphs around the American Southwest which are believed to be Asian symbols. The most common belief is that people entered into America via the Bering Strait Land Bridge. This brings us back to the idea that the Egyptians may have once inhabited the Grand Canyon. But were they Egyptian? The only accounts of this Egyptian and Grand Canyon connection is these articles from the early 1900s. The idol almost resembles Buddha, though the scientists are not certain as to what religious worship it represents. Taking into consideration everything found thus far, it is possible that this worship most resembles the ancient people of Tibet. And yes, we're back down the rabbit hole.